and we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum.
And I'm Rob Shooter. Thank you for having me back.
Last time wonderful to have you back.
Good to
Rob
be back.
Shooter, who does the naughtygossip.com website, where you can read him. And we've not done the news for 2 weeks.
We have a lot to get to. Should we jump in?
So we should. In the headlines, the United States State Department and the so-called Justice Department held conferences this week to help religious groups get government money and discriminate against LGBT people.
We have the good, the bad decisions from the federal courts on LGBT issues coming up.
For the second Love Loud music festival in Utah that supports LGBT youth, they got 35,000 people in Utah.
Good grief, I love that one. Also, we have Grindr. That's right, you heard it. Grindr is asking us all to be a little kinder. See what I did there?
By the way, there's a Grindr the Opera playing in London right now. I swear, I was told to see it, I missed it. Alaska Airlines tried to split up a gay couple to accommodate a heterosexual couple.
We have the news about big LGBT demonstrations in both Israel and, surprisingly, too, in Japan.
These are historic. There were storm clouds on the horizon at the International AIDS Conference in Amsterdam.
And Zachary Quinto, who's currently playing Harold in Boys in the Band, is talking about audience members who are shouting things out during the show.
And I'll be reviewing some London theater, including stuff you can see here in America on film, and also stuff that will probably come here.
I love your theatre reviews, Andy.
So whenever we have a co-host who hasn't been here for a while,
right,
a couple of months, how are you coping with the current atmosphere?
It's really awful, and I'm watching a lot of black and white movies on Turner Classics.
That's the spirit. I did that for weeks after the election.
It's pretty. Whenever you think things have got as bad as they can get, something else awful happens. Well, and at the moment, I feel a little bit deflated by it, and I'm not fighting at the moment. I'm watching black and white movies and staying away maybe from Rachel Maddow and the news.
We all need to cope, but we thank you for being here at Gay USA, where we'll give you the bad news and some good news we've got this week.
And lots of theatre news. We have a ton of entertainment today.
I go away for a couple of weeks, and Trump has threatened nuclear war with Iran. He's undermined the Endangered Species Act. He's been normalizing, internment camps for children. I mean, this is happening. We didn't stop those camps. Right. We sued. We're trying to fight them. So then we see what happens in the State Department this week and in the Justice Department. I guess they had a tandem act.
Right.
They got all these right-wingers
together, and they decided to introduce a Liberty Task Force. Now, this is a task force where they claim they're going to uphold people's religious point of views, and in doing so, will now be able to discriminate from gay issues out there and gay policies. This looks like it's going forward. Jeff Sessions is behind it. There are a ton of anti-gay groups who are supporting
Tony
this as well.
Perkins was
That's
there.
right.
Psycho.
Yeah.
No, not that
one.
Well,
he is a psycho, but maybe not the one from the film. So this is actually happening now, and at first, I think people were very shocked. The next reaction was an uproar on Twitter and social media, and there were a lot of very funny memes out there.
Yeah.
They were funny until you realized how serious this really is. It's not joking about.
This is the future. And with the Supreme Court that they're getting now, and the lower federal courts that they're getting now, these judges will say, oh, yes, we have to respect. Even Justice Kennedy was sort of this way. We have to respect people's religious feelings all the time.
And I think they want to keep talking about the cake and not being able to bake the cake, but it's much more serious than that. This is going to be issues on people's healthcare, where they live, where they can work. This is some really serious stuff.
And it applies all over the world. Mick Mulvaney, who is the budget director,
yes,
and I think he's undermining the Consumer Protection Agency as well. He says the administration is going to stop punishing African countries that discriminate against gays. He said that's using tax dollars to discourage Christian values, and this is a Christian country.
They're not going to let us forget it. This is a shocking one. I think in the past, historically here, taxpayers' monies has been used in foreign aid
Yes.
to advance rights of women, rights of gay people around the world.
Not
I think it's
particularly effectively, but at least we stand for it.
Right. But if we don't stand for it at all,
Yes.
then there's no need to even pretend to play along with this one. This one's a really concerning one. We should definitely keep an eye on this.
And there are a couple of bills that have been introduced. I don't know if they're going anywhere by the Republicans in the Congress. One is they hate rainbow flags so much that they want to ban all flags except the American flag. That's the bill. We got to stop these rainbow flags. And then the other one is perhaps much more serious, to let child welfare agencies discriminate against LGBT people. Now, and this is all in the spirit of religious freedom for them. 40 U.S. senators have signed a letter opposing that. No Republicans signed the letter, but if you can get 40-41, you can filibuster the thing and stop the bill if they're willing to stand up on it.
Let's hope we get another one. A Republican candidate is swearing that being homosexual is actually more unhealthy than smoking. His name is Hardy Billington, and I think he's from Missouri, and he's running for the legislature there, and it looks like he's got a very good chance, actually, of getting in. Trump won this county by an enormous amount, and they're saying this now publicly. They might have thought this about us before, but now they're actually saying it out loud.
I think the only way to get rid of him is to sick Sacha Baron Cohen on him, because he went after a Georgia legislature, Jason Spencer, who had already lost his primary, so he wasn't coming back. But he's had to resign because did you watch this?
I did watch this.
He got this guy. Sacha plays this Israeli Defense Forces guy, and they do anything with him, and they all talk to him. And this guy started shouting offensive things about Chinese tourists, and he pulled down his pants. Oh, the whole thing was, if you want to go after a terrorist, shove your naked butt in their face, and you say you're going to turn them into a homosexual, and they will not shoot you.
We're laughing at this.
This is on tape.
This is on tape. And it wasn't a hidden camera. They knew they were being taped. When me and Andy sit here, there are 3 cameras looking at us. We're aware we're on camera. They did the same. They didn't know it was Sacha Baron Cohen.
Well, some people walked out on him like Ted Koppel.
Right, but after a while, though, historically, Donald Trump actually sat down with the character many years ago, and it took him about 7 minutes to realize he was being spoofed before he walked out.
Roy Moore walked off when he was using his pedophile detector on him. But this guy, Representative John Spencer, said he felt exploited.
We're terribly sorry, sir. We're terribly sorry. He said it on camera.
We feel exploited by the whole Trump administration, and Sean Spicer has acknowledged that Trump was never, even though he threw a gay thing into his convention speech, that was only to win over one delegate who wanted him to do it. And by the way, it wasn't pro-gay. All he said was, I'm going to stop you from being thrown off buildings.
Right. He said the words, the letters.
It was not for gay rights.
And that was also, too, just an update on that. Sean Spicer's book is tanking. So the book came out a week or so ago. It has already fell out of the top 200. People are not buying this book. At his book events, people are turning up to protest. People have turned up at different Barnes and Nobles. It's very interesting. I think I misjudged this. I thought there would be an appetite for that book. I thought this would be Fire and Fury Part 2. And I think what's happened is he falls between 2 stools. It's not cheeky enough or honest enough for the left to want to read like Fire and Fury, and it's not pleasant enough for the right to read. So I think he's sort of alienated both audiences.
Right. All they eat up is prejudice these days, period.
And hate. It's not good.
I mean, you watch the rallies. This is quite a frightening time, folks. And by the way, if Trump fires Mueller, as he's obviously planning to do, and Sessions and everybody else, there will be demonstrations in your town. Go online, Google, firing Mueller demonstrations. It all comes up.
The rally we were talking about just a couple of nights ago with Jim Acosta was there, the CNN correspondent, were terrifying. I'm going to watch CNN now for the next 2 weeks to support you, Jim. Okay. You're welcome.
Now, we did have some hopeful news this week. Now, I think this is really hopeful, and I didn't know about this until I read it in the paper. Gerrymandering is killing us, and that's going to make taking back the House tougher than it should be. We're still expected to do it, but it's going to make it tougher. But there are big states like Michigan and Missouri which have ballot initiatives to do nonpartisan redistricting. These are the states that Trump won.
Right.
And if we can change the House districts there, we can take back over again.
Do we have a good chance?
Oh God, yes. Because it passes usually when you put it on the ballot. If you do redistricting fairly, it's still hard for us because we're all packed into cities.
Right.
You see? But if you do it fairly, we will win.
How do we win on the ballot if it's already a shady district, though?
No.
Oh.
It's for the whole state.
Got it.
Vote. The
That
whole
makes
state
sense.
votes. The whole
I always
state
wondered
votes.
that. I was like, how are we going to change this district if they're voting on the change?
No,
it's the whole state.
It's not. Well, maybe they'll try that.
And I think too, when you do point it out to the entire state, some of these maps are so farcical. It's beyond judgment. You can't defend it. They look so ridiculous when you pull up some of
That's why they
these
called it a gerrymander. It was named after Elbridge Gerry, and it looked like a salamander.
It's like a salamander.
All right, that was in Massachusetts. We have some Massachusetts. By the way, good news, Ruth Bader Ginsburg says she wants to stay another 5 years until she's 90.
She's incredible. So she did this interview. She didn't do a big New York Times expose. She was at an event and talking about how much longer she wants to stay on the court. And God bless her, she said she thinks she has another 5 years in her. Fingers crossed.
All right, and don't give up on stopping Brett Kavanaugh. There were like 62 LGBT groups across the country that signed a letter against him. Obviously, that doesn't impress the Republicans too much.
More's coming out on him too, though. As people dig deeper, I think there's now some conflict of interest in the past when he voted or sided with a case with Donald Trump as a businessman, and I think that's going to come to light too.
You've got to get them on personal scandal these days. But only 41% want him confirmed, 37% do not, and that's unprecedented levels of opposition. And if we could slow this down and beat him, maybe we can get to past the midterms and get a Senate. It will be, again, a long shot that could stop him. By the way, at the moment, the Senator Flake, who really does very little for us, he's leaving from Arizona, he's very independent, but now he's on vacation.
He's on vacation.
And he's not coming back, and they're not able to confirm all these horrible judges while he's away.
That's right. He disappeared, and the only reason we knew he was away was he was tweeting pictures from the Middle East or wherever he is. I think it's the Middle East. And, I think it's in Africa, where he was as a missionary.
Right.
He's there. He didn't tell Mitch McConnell, and so now it's 50-50 on that.
Because he's voted for all these others. Trump has now filled 23 of 167 circuit court judges, and it's these people are hard right ideologues.
They're hard rights. We have some little bit of local news though that's pretty major here. Is the Stonewall Democrats have come out in support of Andrew Cuomo, not Cynthia Nixon.
Yes. Well, look, most people who belong to Democratic clubs want government jobs. And I'm not trying to be too cynical here.
But you can't count her out yet.
However, Cuomo lied on his survey to the Stonewall Democrats.
And she's pointed it out.
Yes, because, we've talked about this on the show before. We have a rogue group of Democrats here called the Independent Democratic Conference that empower Republicans. And Andrew Cuomo, this Democrat, has supported them because he doesn't want a Democratic majority in the Senate, because then he'd have to really do something. So, also, they've been ordered by a court to give back over $1 million in donations that they got.
It's very shady. And for the first time maybe in a long time.
So he supported one of these people and he lied about it.
And she now, you've got to admire Cynthia Nixon's for being fearless. Like, she is in this to win it. I don't think it's for vanity.
The biggest criticism I get, and from serious people, is I don't want another celebrity politician. Let her be a city council member. First of all, Andrew Cuomo had a celebrity name too, and his first office was statewide Attorney General of the state of New York. But celebrity, she's a serious person. And you also act like acting is, what is it, like for lovies? She is a hard-working woman.
Yeah, we know her from Sex and the City, but she's been doing a lot of great work for a long time. It's interesting, Sarah Jessica has yet to throw her a fundraiser. A lot of people around New York have been doing big money fundraisers for Cynthia. Sarah hasn't yet opened up that townhouse.
All right, let's go back to one nomination from Trump was withdrawn. This guy is Ryan Bounds from the Ninth Circuit. That's out in California, very liberal. Mostly over racist writing against things such as black student groups. He was also upset that the drunken frat boys who vandalized a gay pride statue were charged with hate crimes. And It took black Senator, South Carolina, Tim Scott, to object, and that was the end of his nomination.
It seems that there's a bar that one has to cross, and at the moment it's awfully low.
Well,
but if you keep trying, we can't give up, is the message here.
He says that he did these things when he's kids. You got to clean up your paper trail. There's this thing we're going to story about a baseball player
Yes, indeed,
on the Nats,
Yep.
right? He wrote a lot of racist and homophobic tweets when he was a kid. I mean, he was 18, but throw them out, eliminate them. We've all said stupid things. I've said a few stupid things myself. Get rid of your paper trail.
Get rid of your paper trail. What else do we have on the courts? Are we good with courts?
Well, in Michigan, the Civil Rights Commission there is going to continue to investigate anti-LGBT discrimination as sex discrimination, even though the Attorney General, Bill Schuette, I think his name is, said, you can't do this. And they said, we're an independent body. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to control us. All right. In the Sixth Circuit, they ruled in March that the Harris Funeral Home was guilty of sex discrimination when it fired a trans funeral director, but Alliance Defending Freedom, the right-wing group, is appealing that to the Supreme Court. So, and again, with this court, we don't know.
Right. This is why I think the courts are just so terribly important. And it's easy to forget them. And if Trump's legacy is going to be anything, it could be many things. But one of the things is packing the courts. He's certainly pushing his people through.
We can pack the courts back.
Yes.
The Democrats can take power and they can write a new Judiciary Act, and they can say we're going to have 15 members of the Supreme Court of the United States. Right. They did it.
Right.
They didn't do 15 before,
right.
but it was in the 1800s. They changed the numbers. The only thing in the Constitution is that they serve for life, but doesn't say how many. And they have changed the number over the years. Andrew Johnson wanted to keep appointing people, and they said, we'll just keep a small court.
That's what Ad would have done.
One, maybe another. I thought I had
one
some
more
other.
Courts?
Yeah. In the Third Circuit, they refused to rehear a case about a trans locker room, which we won through the ACLU, so that's good. And in the 11th Circuit in Ohio, they refused to reconsider their decision that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act banning sex discrimination does not cover gay people, so there's some conflicts on this.
Right, it still hasn't.
And Lambda and Outserve is asking the court to stop the Pentagon from discriminating against HIV-positive service members. So there's all that.
A good thing. A busy couple of weeks.
Okay.
Should we do some society stuff? What's going on out there in the world? Grindr, of all places, the hookup app, is asking us all to be a little bit kinder. What Grindr have decided is there's too much discrimination when looking to meet somebody out there, maybe for social purposes.
Oh, and
maybe
you put
for
up
something
no fats,
else.
femmes,
no fats,
Asians.
No.
So they're not going to allow that.
They're not. Well, they haven't gone that far. They're not barring it. They put out a PSA encouraging people to be a little bit kinder. So if you've got a Grindr profile,
how do you say it kindly when you want to racially discriminate?
You don't say it. I think is the thing. You just don't say it.
Wow.
There you go. Alaska Airlines is in a lot of trouble for discriminating against a gay couple. There was a gay couple seated on the plane who were asked to move when they were actually in their seats to make room for a straight couple. The backlash on this has been
because we want to keep families together, Alaska Airlines said.
They did. Now, thankfully, after all this pressure we put on them, they issued a statement apologizing. It's their policy to keep families seated together whenever possible, they said. They've also reached out to the gentleman and offered their apologies.
Yeah, but they haven't really said what the policy is.
They haven't.
I think the policy should be, if you get the seat first, you stay in the seat. If another couple comes along, I don't care who it is, it's like, we were here first, you sit separately. Hey, you're married, don't you want a little time apart anyway? I mean, a lot of couples do. I have offered to give up my seat on a train. Oh, I say, would you two like to sit together? And they say, we see enough of each other.
Absolutely. No, they did say, we should point out, that they have zero tolerance policy for discrimination. At the end of a very long sentence, they probably should have got to that first, but I'm glad they've reached out to Mr. Cooley, I believe his name is, and Alaska Airlines.
Okay. Hey, let's give them the good news from Utah, where they had the second Love Loud Music Festival. Love Loud. This is led by Imagine Dragons' Dan Reynolds to support LGBT youth. More than twice as many people as last time. 35,000 people. Tim Cook of Apple showed up to speak, calling gay youth. He said to gay youth, look at all these kids. This is Utah. And he said LGBT youth are a gift to the world. The Republican governor, Gary Herbert, declared a Love Loud Day, and the lieutenant governor spoke, and they raised $1 million for youth suicide prevention, which was up 141% in Utah.
Fantastic.
Because of those, I'm going to say it, those damn Mormons who, here's what's happening. The Mormons still deliver a message that you're going to go to hell forever,
right.
you know, and they're hearing all this other good stuff, and I think that puts people in conflict, and I think that helps lead to suicide.
I think sending a message like that to anybody, particularly young people, is never a good thing. But it is encouraging to see that many people. When I saw the photograph when I walked in before we started taping, I thought it was a Miley Cyrus concert. I was looking through my script. I was like, we're doing a Miley story. It looked like a Taylor Swift show. So congratulations. That's a lot of people. 35,000 people
In Utah.
It's amazing. We mentioned about this gentleman, what's his name? Trey Turner, who's apologizing for homophobic tweets.
Who is that?
He is the Washington Nationals shortstop. Said some really ugly things out there about gay and lesbian people.
But
once again, they're there forever. You can delete them.
But Sean Doolittle of the same team, the Washington Nats, he called out other players for racist and homophobic tweets. And he said something wonderful. He said some of this, mostly they call people athletes, male athletes, obviously, use the gay thing, that faggot, that kind of stuff, to show you're weak and you're soft. And he said some of the strongest people I know are from the LGBTQIA community. It takes courage to be your true self when your identity has been used as an insult or a pejorative. So, he's standing up.
Good for him. We have two friends who were kicked out of a cab in Philly for being affectionate to each other and talking about being gay. This happened on March 16th. Two friends were riding
out of
home.
a what?
A taxi cab. A cab. It was not an Uber. This was a regular cab, and now I think they're gonna sue over this and see what can happen there. But they were not making out. They were talking about their lives, and the driver did not like it and pulled over and told them to get out. This happened in Philly.
Look, we got a couple of obits to talk about. Angela Bowen has died at 82. She was a dance teacher. I have a picture of her. Dance teacher, scholar, lesbian and black feminist activist. She ran the Bowen Peters School of Dance in New Haven. Came out in the 80s. She'd been married to a man, then she came out in the 80s. She was active in the National Coalition of Black Lesbians and Gays. She taught women's gender and sexuality studies at Cal State in Long Beach, and she's survived by her wife, Jennifer Lynn Abad, who she had been with for 30 years.
Wow,
a pioneer.
Absolutely.
And then on the bad side, Guy Molinari died. This was the borough president of Staten Island who was totally anti-gay, unmourned. He's the one who gave us Rudy Giuliani. And when Karen Burstein, a lesbian, ran for Attorney General, no one was saying anything about her being a lesbian. She was out. And then he said, she's a lesbian and unfit for public office. And that was put on the front pages of the papers. And she lost narrowly.
Oh, yeah. We have news about a gay kiss. There's a couple enjoying a gay kiss in Brazil at Sugarloaf Mountain, which apparently is the second biggest tourist spot in Brazil after the big Jesus statue. And this is causing people to be very, very angry. However, they have decided they refuse to remove this image. It's all over online. Congratulations to these two brave young gentlemen. And it looks like a great kiss. Good for you.
How about those male models who say they were sexually harassed by Rick Day, and they're not the first? He's the guy who shoots for GQ, Vogue, Italia, and Elle.
Massive fashion magazines, and two models are coming forward now saying they were abused.
Well, apparently what he said to them was, I'm going to shoot you, and then you're going to make me shoot. Well, that's a charming opening line. And then when they complained about this now, he says, hey, I thought we were all having a good time. We were all being kind of flirty, We're not. There they are. Michael and Zachar, the twins.
There they are.
These incidents occurred just last year.
We have a delicious story out of Canada, which is how you can win a date with their Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Can we win? Trudeau.
Trudeau, forgive me. He's one of my favourites. I think he's just delicious. So the Liberty Party in Canada for Gay Pride up there are doing Gwyn brunch with Justin. You can enter the competition. They'll fly you to Canada. They put you up. You get to have brunch with them and then a ton of swag to take to Pride the next day. Really nice.
My date with Tad Hamilton.
That's
what it was called?
That's right. So yeah, I love that the Prime Minister is doing this. I think everybody up there knows how just delicious he is. I went to Canada a couple of weeks ago, and when I checked in at security, went through immigration, they asked me why I was there, and I said to see Justin, and they said you're not the first to say that. I was not there to see him.
I don't think you'd get too many entries for brunch with our president.
Can you imagine the difference there?
All right, on a more serious. Oh, by the way, on this religious freedom stuff, Philadelphia, they won their case that says agencies that receive public funds cannot discriminate. That was brought by a Catholic social services agency that refused to consider a gay couple as foster parents, but their appeal may go all the way up. By the way, religious agencies receive $1.6 billion in U.S. contracts just since 2012. Yeah. And, if you're going to, look, you want to discriminate, but, to hire your own people from your own church, but don't take my money.
Right, you can't have it both ways. There's a married lesbian couple that are suing a senior living center over discrimination.
Where?
This is in Missouri. What's so interesting about this couple is they're both very smart and educated ladies, but one of them was Andy Cohen, that's the gentleman from Bravo, his math teacher at high school.
Yeah.
So now Andy, he's getting very involved with this on social media. He has millions of following. And this story now, which was a local story, is really blowing up because of Andy Cohen. God bless you, Andy.
Speaking of Catholics, Cardinal McCarrick, Ted McCarrick from New Jersey and then Washington, D.C., he's only the first U.S. cardinal to be ousted over the sexual abuse scandal. Most of the guys he went after with were not little kids. They were seminarians. He liked his fellow priests. We mourn the loss of, by the way, Congressman Ron Dellums of Oakland. He has died, and he was a leading advocate for LGBT rights and AIDS issues. He voted against the Defense of Marriage Act. Only 1/5 of the Congress voted against the Defense of Marriage Act in 1996. Chuck Schumer voted for the Defense of Marriage Act when he was in the House. Right. The Clintons, of course, supported it, but Ron Dellums voted against it.
The American Red Cross is facing a critical blood shortage, but still gay people are being turned away. So they say now that they're in desperate need of blood.
They'll take it?
They will not take it unless you can prove that you've not had sex with another man.
How do you prove that? Do they examine your genitalia in some way?
I don't know how that proves anything.
But do they hold a wand to you? How do they prove it?
I don't know. In different countries, though, like in Britain now, this silly ban has stopped. In different countries in Europe, it's also being taken away, but not here in America.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about AIDS later. By the way, we also want to congratulate, we got the first out lesbian to run a Fortune 500 company. Her name is Beth Ford at Land O'Lakes.
It's a great, isn't it? The first one.
She was out from the get-go.
Yes.
Tim Cook, I think, came out after he had the job there, didn't he?
He did. There's a new study out by AARP, AARP, showing
I'm a member.
that there you go. Maybe you filled out the study showing that gay men over 45 are more likely to be single.
Well,
and the implications of that are for housing and healthcare. But
is there something wrong with being single?
I didn't say there was, Andy.
I'm
not
happily single.
There you go.
I'm retired from playing the fool.
And are you over 45, my friend?
I'm going to be 65 later this year.
You're looking good.
Medicare. I can't wait. I hope it's still there.
Oof.
All right. In Orlando, on a very serious note, they had a rally vigil for trans woman Sasha Garden, whose body was found in the parking lot at the Reserve at Lake Buchanan Apartments. They're offering a $5,000 reward for her information about what happened to her. Another trans African-American woman who has been killed.
Awful. Do we have this story out of Florida that 13 gay men have had their names and photographs, their mugshots, printed in the paper after they were caught in an adult back room?
They go to an adult bookstore. Police go in. Now, what are people doing in an adult bookstore in the back where the movies are running? They're masturbating. Some of them may be getting it on. Whose business is that? This is private sexual behavior.
The police are
It's not like they were
claiming-
doing it in the middle of the street.
The police are claiming that you could accidentally pay $35 and walk into this bookstore. It's $35? Good grief. But in any case, the police are claiming that because of that, it could be
It's an
considered
outrage, and
a
it's an
public
outrage
space.
that the Miami
It is.
Herald and WPLG covered this and exposed people and put their pictures in the papers. That's horrible.
But they've changed it, so on their website now.
Now.
You're right. I mean, once it's out, it's out. But they have gone back into their websites and removed these names. Shame on you for printing them. Shame on you.
Well, also in Florida, in St. Augustine, is that how you say it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Federal court ordered the St. Johns County School Board to allow a trans boy access to the boys' room. Drew Adams says now he can focus on being a regular boy. Thank you, Lambda Legal Defense. And what else? Oh, in Massachusetts, the Campaign for Trans Protection Retention says, we have to defend trans law. They've raised $1 million for TV time, but the state legislature there yesterday refused to pass a bill banning conversion therapy. One guy was holding it up. Horrible. Massachusetts. Puerto Rico, a court ordered Puerto Rico to let trans people update their birth certificates. Jackson Hole, Wyoming passed an LGBT rights bill. That's good. But a Cal Poly student named Bronson Harmon, did you read about this? He
did.
lost his wrestling scholarship when he was caught on tape shouting homophobic abuse at people at a Families Belong Together demonstration against Trump. He says he was wrong, but he feels his free speech rights were violated. He was shouting, "F you, faggot." You have a right to say that, but there are consequences to that.
There are consequences. And everybody now has a recording device. It's called a phone on them. Feel free to use it. These people, once they're caught, tend to run away.
Because prejudice is serious business. Another black trans woman was killed, Diamond Stevens in Mississippi, 39, shot to death June 19th, misgendered in first reports. That's why we're just doing
This
it
is
now.
becoming an epidemic.
And here's a case that we've got. Here's a case that Andrew Cuomo and Cynthia Nixon better get on. A town clerk in upstate New York in Montgomery County denied a marriage license to a gay couple. She said, "I have religious reasons. The deputy clerk can do it. Our youths can go to another county." That's what they better draw the line this way. And New York.
New York. Her running, though, whether or not she pulls this off, and it doesn't look likely, but you shouldn't count anybody out. Her running has made his views much better.
And she's 30 points behind in the polls. I remember when Mario Cuomo was running for governor, and I supported him against Ed Koch, who was a horror by then. Ed Koch was 30 points up the day before the election. New York Post was already coronating him, and Mario won. I was pretty shocked myself.
She's been awfully smart. I was skeptical of this one, but now I've started to really pay attention to stuff she's saying. I think she's doing a great job.
Well, I mean, she's a strong progressive, and he is not.
Right.
He has very conservative instincts. Because that's where the money is. It's very, very ugly out there. And we have a picture of this guy in Portland, Oregon. This guy, Timothy Walsh, 38, assaulted a trans woman named Kira Mosby just because he saw her and got unhinged. He kept saying, "That's a man in a woman's clothes." He was arrested, charged with 4th-degree assault, 2nd-degree intimidation, and as you might expect, a parole violation. By the way, they had the Reclaim Pride Town meeting in New York.
Anne was
and her co-chair presided, and we're making progress on getting everybody in the country, for next June, for World Pride, this 50th anniversary of Stonewall, a big demonstration, not a corporate parade. That's what we're working on. Right. If you want to come to the meetings, they're Saturdays at 1:30 at the LGBT
and
Center.
No wristband needed for the meetings.
Well, I didn't wear
Maybe for the pride, just for pride.
All right, international news.
Yes.
Israel. Well, I mean, we've told you about this. They wouldn't include us in the surrogacy laws. They broadened the surrogacy laws to let non-married people use them, heterosexuals, but they wouldn't broaden them for gay people to use them. And this has set everybody off.
Right.
Tens of thousands of people went on strike and entered the streets in Tel Aviv.
God bless them. I think this is the first gay strike ever to be recorded in the history of the world.
The tech firms in Israel gave everybody the day off to go protest.
Good, there was thousands of people in the street. And this, for some reason, got under everybody's
They
nuts.
say LGBT issues are becoming the flagship of Israel's liberal secular camp. And by the way, in Lod, Israel, they had a Jewish Arab LGBT event. So it's really taken off. And then Tokyo.
This one totally surprised me. Tell me this one. I don't.
Well, 5,000 people rallied to protest because a junior lawmaker said that Mio Sugita said that she called the gay community unproductive. This was an insult. And she said taxpayer funds shouldn't support same-sex couples because we don't bear children. Well, she's not very smart either.
She's not very smart. 5,000
people took offense to this.
That's an enormous amount of people.
We're all getting a little like, we're not taking it anymore.
We're not taking it anymore. Around the world. It's not just us. It's around the world.
Costa Rica, they plan a big protest at the Supreme Court. It's about to decide about same-sex marriage. At the World Meeting of Families the Catholic Church is having in Ireland, they won't let the LGBT groups speak. They're called We Are the Church Ireland. They can't even have an exhibition stand, so just set up a table outside, and you'll get, or go meet everybody in the gay bars or on Grindr, because that's where you're going to find them.
Be kinder.
The United Kingdom, the Department of Education is going to allow LGBTQ identity in sex education classes. They're going to require it. And I love this. In Qatar, the British race walker, Tom Bosworth, he risked prison by openly defending LGBTQ rights when he was there for the World Championships. Qatar cracked down on LGBT coverage. They took the cover of the New York Times and Qatar, and they literally left half the paper blank.
They edited it out. They literally tried to erase us.
The Times should just not publish if it has to do it that way.
Right.
Really.
Right.
You know? Anyway.
Right.
Singapore, the grandson of the first prime minister, has come out. That's kind of nice.
That's nice.
In advance of the Pink Dot Pride event, which they have every year. Switzerland voted 14-11 to move forward on marriage equality, although they're holding back on assisted procreation or spousal pensions. That's not very nice. Right. And in Lebanon, an appeals court ruled that same-sex relationships are not illegal. All right.
Progress.
A couple of other. I'm sorry, I do have more international.
Oh, we do. Keep going.
Cuba has a draft constitution that says a consensual union between two people without discrimination of sex is marriage. They're planning a big new gay hotel there, the first one. Cayman Islands, the Chief Justice has cleared the way for judicial review of same-sex marriage. Luxembourg passed a bill to let you change your name and gender without jumping through hoops. They passed it 57-3. What were you waiting for? Ireland, with the prime minister is gay. Oh, I think I said that. Will not fund agency. Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago held their first ever pride marches. Russia, Pussy Riot, was arrested.
Yes.
As soon as they got out of jail, they were rearrested. Veracruz, Mexico, they found the body of the 2018 Gay Queen pageant winner, and apparently this is the second one like this who has been found murdered. And the International Association of Athletic Federations has new rules discriminate against some women. The Human Rights Watch is very upset about that. Okay.
We had a lot of news.
Well, are you ready for AIDS? Yes,
indeed.
Okay, well, they had the International AIDS Conference. And, well, first of all, they did an 8-year study and found 0 transmissions for gay men on treatment who were not using condoms. 0. That's fantastic news.
0.
But Laurie Garrett, who is the veteran AIDS journalist, who has been writing about it since the very beginning of the epidemic, she says, our models are failing because it's all dependent on giving people drugs. We're not finding a cure. We're abandoning the condom strategy, and it's not going to work in the long run. Oh, wow. That's what she's saying.
She knows her
aid
stuff.
is being cut, and
Right.
the drugs are expensive. She says we need a vaccine or a cure. 12 million are going to die by 2030. So
someone to listen to.
and then you've got the situation in Canada and Saskatchewan. I never heard of anything like this. They found a new HIV strain that only infects the indigenous people because of their body chemistry, and the rates there are through the roof. And so, the virus can change. In New York, ACT UP went to the Whitney Museum. They have the wonderful David Wojnarowicz exhibit, and they have a protest exhibit. We've got a picture of them, but they said you're not connecting people to what's going on today around AIDS. So there's Jason Rosenberg from ACT UP holding up a story that people can read about what's still going on. Because they said, don't put AIDS up on a shelf and say it's over. It's an exhibit. It is something that is happening now.
It feels historical. It feels like it's in the past. And it's certainly not. And we have to remember that.
And Amsterdam, where the conference was held, has a PrEP program, and they found unprecedented levels of Hep C infection among HIV-negative men. Prince Harry was at the AIDS conference.
He was.
Bill Clinton, Elton John.
Yet they're going to work together, I think, on a new initiative together.
Yes, hundreds of delegates walked out in protesting the UN AIDS director Michael Sidibe's mishandling of sexual assault case against the former deputy, Luis Lourdes. Gilead has raised copay assistance on Truvada to levels demanded 5 years ago by activists, but no price reductions, so we're still fighting them. The next AIDS conference is set for 2020 in San Francisco, and human rights activists from around the world, mostly from the United States, are saying, don't have it here. We are a fascist nation right now.
Right.
Seriously. Okay.
Hopefully by then.
All right.
We have a ton of entertainment news.
And we've got a good time.
We do. We also have a lot of news from London too. Andy spent a week in London catching up on all the great shows over there. So some fun stuff here in America. Zachary Quinto, who's currently in Boys of the Band.
I don't know this story. What happened?
He went on television. He's on the Jimmy Fallon show and talked about doing the play. It's only there for another 2 weeks, and what a pleasure it was to do it. But he did say, doing a play that everybody knows, the audience can get very into it and start screaming things back at you.
Because you changed some of the lines.
So they got very angry. He did say too that they could hear you.
But what kinds of things did they say?
They were shouting lines back at him. It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Also too.
The first time I went to Greece, there were these girls around me, and they were girls. They were kids singing along with the show, and I'm thinking, this is something new.
Don't go to see Mamma Mia. Don't, Andy, you'll hate it. They know every word. So that's fun. We also have a new movie ad. Scotty Bowers, who is Scotty Bowers. He was part of Hollywood in the golden age.
He was a gas jockey.
He was, and claims in this.
And Walter Pigeon came to his gas station.
That's right.
And that's how it got started.
It all started. So
and he found it, and I guess he slept with Walter Pigeon. He actually did it himself.
Yes, I should think.
And then he started.
A beautiful young man, and then he started pretty much like an escort service.
Well, but he never charged. He did it because he said he wanted to make people happy.
Right.
He got 150 different women for Katharine Hepburn.
He did Cary Grant in the book called Porter. This is an
Spencer Tracy. It was a surprise.
And another one which really,
I shouldn't be surprised. Anybody, nothing wrong with being gay.
Blows the theory about giving up the throne for the woman he loved. He also claims in his book that he would set up the Duke and the Duchess of Windsor with different people. There's a new fantastic.
Well, before you finish that, Anne says, come for the gossip in that movie and leave with insight.
New York Times ad. I think that's a great quote. It's a great documentary. It's a fascinating story. There is a lot. It's juicy. It's very dishy, which I love. But there's a lot in there. Go and see that one.
He's a sweet guy.
He is. He's still around, still
96 or something.
God love him. He was doing something we weren't, and I think we know what that was. So there's also, which was quite fun too, if you want to be part of the world's largest underwear gathering ever, it's happening in San Francisco on September 12th.
What does that mean?
You can get in your tighty.
My underwear kind of gathers in bunches in hot weather, but what are you talking about?
You can get together in your tighty whities or whatever you fancy, and they're trying to break a Guinness World Record of the most people in their underwear. God loves San Francisco. Mission Creek Park is where you'll find that. We have a little bit of theater news here in New York.
By the way, it's so hot here in New York today that this was almost the second time that I did the show in my underwear. We literally did about 30 years ago. It was so
we should do a pajama party.
It's okay inside here. You couldn't see it, you know.
From the waist down, me and Andrew. You don't want to. Also, too, there's a little bit of theatre news before we get to all the London theatre stuff.
Yes.
Ben Brantley, the New York Times critic, had to issue an apology this week after a review of Head Over Heels. This is a musical produced by Gwyneth Paltrow.
Bill Ballman and I are seeing it tonight.
Starring Peppermint.
About the Go-Go's.
About the Go-Go's music. It's a jukebox musical, and Peppermint, who was on RuPaul's Drag Race, is the first transgender lady ever to be in a starring role on Broadway. Ben took a line from the show and put it in his review. In the show, she says, she, he, they. And Ben quoted her, but we didn't quote her in the review. And I think a lot of people thought he was commenting rather than the character.
I see.
And it got him into a ton of trouble.
I see. He's a gay man.
Issued an apology. He didn't mean to
man.
cause
And by
any
the way,
offense.
sad news, Gary Beach died. He was the flamboyant Roger DeBreece in the musical of The Producers. He's died at 70, won a Tony for that. He was Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast and Albin in 2004 revival of La Cage aux Folles, survived by his husband, Jeffrey Barnett.
I think the theatres dimmed the lights for him, the theatres that he was at, or they put his name up on the marquee, the two theatres where he
Anne
played.
does not want us to go see Brotherly Love, a new movie about gay seminarians. She says unless you want to see priests hang out and have sex with each other. It looked pretty amateurish. Atomic Cafe has been revived from 1982, a documentary. She says it's funny and frightening about mashups of nukes and education films. She says it's very relevant. Let's go see it. That's in New York this week in L.A. It's opening. By the way, we learned that Brokeback Mountain did not have. They had other ideas.
They did.
And it was turned down by who turned down those roles? Brad Pitt, Leo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon. It ended up starring Heath Ledger and Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for pronouncing it. They're making a movie about Jack Kennedy and his gay best friend, Lem Billings, a gay man. This guy had his own room in the White House. They were childhood friends. When Jack married Jackie, he said, I got to get married. He was in his 30s. He said, I got to get married. People are starting to say I'm a fag. That was the quote from the president. This was a long time ago in the 50s. But anyway, they called Lem his moral compass.
Maybe it's chance number 2, Brad Pitt. You missed the
Supergirl has cast a trans actor, Nicole Maines, as Dreamer, the first trans superhero on TV. Character has you have a picture? You got to get the picture of Nicole Maines there? A fierce desire
She's
to protect
a fearless
others.
young lady who's spoken out. And this news has really caught on. A couple of days ago, I was up at CNN doing this story. And so it's really caught on in the mainstream media as well as everywhere else.
Now, let's not run through everything. I've got 11 minutes. I don't have 11 minutes worth of London reviews. I'm willing to do them.
Let's do the reviews and see where we end up.
You got my list.
We have a ton of stuff
I was
from
in London, and I won't say it was a terrific week. And some of these things are things that you can see here. Some of them will come here.
Before we get to the theatre,
Yes.
though, my mother tells me it's dreadfully hot over there.
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you, it got up to 93 while I was there in London. Now, it's not the same as a 93-degree day in New York. It's got a breeze usually, or something's going on. But there's very little air conditioning.
There's not air conditioning.
There is in the theaters now.
Right. The Palace is not air conditioning. The whole of Buckingham Palace, I'm sure where the Queen sits is, but Buckingham Palace is
She's got one of those little things in the window. And she sits in there on hot days. But
it's a hot.
We opened all the windows. We opened the door to the roof. I mean, it was hot. It was hot. And the tube, the subway there, no air conditioning.
They said,
and they have a little breeze that comes through the windows. But they said
it was hotter than the legal limit for cattle.
Cattle would not have been allowed to travel on the tube this past week.
I mean, that's not good. How did you survive?
Well, I actually lost a few pounds, which is useful.
You look marvelous.
Thank you very
much. What did
much.
you see while you were there?
All right. So, I spent a lot of time at the National Theater, which is my favorite
Extraordinary place.
And here's the first one. It's called the Lehman Trilogy at the National's Olivier Theater. That's Simon Russell Beale and Ben Miles, who you remember from Wolf Hall, and Adam Godley. These are 3 terrific actors. I ended up standing up at the end. I don't give standing ovations in London, right? But they did for this. I stood up for the Lehman Brothers, who brought the world economy to its knees in 2008. And I stood up because of the acting. So here's how this play went down. These 3 guys get together. This is an Italian play from 10 years ago about the Lehman Brothers, who in the 1840s went to Alabama for some reason, and started selling cloth, and they started selling cotton, and then they became cotton traders, and then they went to New York, and they started a financial empire. And it all crashed in 2008. So, all right. So they started out with the crash in 2008 in the office. They spend the entire time in the office with the boxes that are about to leave, dressed in 1840s style. Really? Now, all 3 guys play all characters in the play. When they started rehearsing it, they had all these actors, and they said, Why don't you play your daughter? Why don't you play your wife? So these three create this theatrical miracle, I would call it.
It sounds blazingly theatrical.
It's storytelling. It just was unbelievable. An epic family drama.
And this is at the National in Britain. Any chance of it coming here?
I asked that question when I went to a forum the next day with them.
And they said?
And they wouldn't tell me.
You know, recently, there has been stuff that crossed over from the National. Angels in America, I believe, started.
But this is an American story.
Right.
These are the Lehman Brothers,
Right.
Right. It's so beautifully done. Again, they didn't do some nice. They did fun Gone with the Wind and King Kong, the Lehman Brothers. Did you know that? But and the railroads and the Panama Canal. But then they got into the shady business at the end, and it blew up in their faces.
Well, now's the time. Like, talk about timely. Now's the time. What else?
Now, this next play I saw. I mean, it's silly almost to talk about it, but I hope it gets more. I saw the world premiere of a play written in 1929. Robert Graves, who wrote I, Claudius, the novel.
Yep.
All right, so he was in World War I. He wrote a memoir. They said, Journey's End was a great success. Why don't you write a World War I play? So he says, okay. So he's not gay, although may have fooled around with Sassoon. We don't know. But anyway, he writes this play. It's got all this gay content, all these gay characters, and they're talking about gay identity. Now, the people we showed on the screen were Alan Cox on the right there, who we're not quite sure about his sexuality. And that's a lesbian who wants to marry him so that she can have a life. You know, she knows she's a lesbian. She talks about being a lesbian. It's played by Sophie Ward.
Is he aware, the character, that he's marrying a lesbian?
He figures it out and he says, I don't want somebody who doesn't really want me. But I mean, it was amazing. And the thing is, the producer at the time, after we wrote the play, said, Robert, it's a good play. You'll never work again if we produce this. I don't think they could have gotten it past the censors. So that was that.
So this play
How much time are you giving me, Bill? Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got 7 minutes.
So this play sat in a drawer for all these years?
All these years. Well, that's 90 years.
That's a long draw. That's a good draw.
But I have to say, it descends into a melodrama with suicides and murders.
Oh, it sounds like my cup
I don't want to
of
give
tea.
everything away because it may get produced. But I was just sitting there going, everybody acts like Boys in the Band started it, or Stonewall started it, or whatever. No. People knew about gay people all the time. All right, now here's the really gay play. Everybody's talking about Jamie.
And they are.
At the Apollo Theater right there in the middle. I don't have him in the dress. It's sort of Kinky Boots meets Billy Elliot, you know? It's a musical. It's the true story of a gay boy, Jamie New, who just wanted to wear a dress to his Sheffield high school prom. Very lively, very affecting, and soon to be a major motion picture. So you don't have to... Yeah, they're going to make a movie about it. It was originally a documentary, and that's what this is based on.
And I should say, I've not been home in a while. I've not been back to Britain in a while. People are talking about this show.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, a very conventional musical.
Right.
He's got a bookish Muslim girl as his best friend who breaks out towards the end. I'm not going to give any more.
Got it.
Then I saw 2 shows at the Royal Court Theatre. All right, a wonderful place.
I
right?
love the Royal Court.
I love the Royal Court too. Look Back in Anger and all that.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
I mean, they do new plays. That's risky, and these things were not as so successful. But the first one was a little better. It's called One for Sorrow by Cordelia Lynn. All right, so here's the setup.
Give it me.
There's a terrorist attack outside the door in London, right? I mean, in the streets, right? This is an upper middle class liberal family, and the daughter there says, let's give shelter to someone who needs it right now. And the guy who takes him up on it is a British Muslim who's more British than they are because his family's been there longer.
Right.
But that's the setup.
That's a good setup.
It is a good setup, but the liberals are kind of stereotypical, and in many ways. And he's very interesting. He's a very interesting character. It has its moments, but it's a little slow. James McDonald directed it. He's the guy who did what was the thing? The children in Broadway last year, right? Remember?
Oh yes.
Was that the name of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's a fascinating setup.
Yes. Okay.
Next one.
But the next one was really awful.
Oh no.
It's called Pity by Rory Malarkey. Now, here's the setup. What if a British market town was destroyed like Mosul? It doesn't look like it's being destroyed like Mosul. That would make a great antic farce, right?
Yes.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, remember Oh, What a Lovely War, the movie about World War I? That was wonderful.
Yes.
But this was just, I have to say, stupid.
Was
So
just awful.
I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. And then, all right, Miss Julie was written, Miss Julie, 130 years ago. Not 90, 130. And what's it about? It's about the rich girl who goes with the servant, right? And that's shocking. Right? Miss Julie, August Strindberg, Birth of Naturalism, right? So they get a woman named Polly Slenham to update it with Vanessa Kirby, who played Princess Margaret.
Pretty great.
Although I didn't see her, I saw her understudy.
Pretty great.
And Eric Kofi Abrefa, okay? Put the picture back up. And, you know, when you, no, not that one, the next one for Miss, there they are. But the thing is, if you update it to today, who cares if a rich girl who's snorting coke and everything is going with the servant? Nobody cares. It's not shocking.
Maybe they thought adding a black character or making him a black character would make it more shocking. It really doesn't.
If you want to see it yourself, it's on NT Live. Go to ntlive.com and you can, they're going to put that one up. I hope they put some of the other ones up. Or even Exit the King. Exit the King is Eugene Ionesco, 1962, about a 483-year-old king, and this is the day he's dying. Played by Rhys Ifans.
It looks fantastic.
And that's Adrian Scarborough, who's a wonderful character actor playing the doctor there. It's done on the Olivier. This is a little play.
Fantastic.
And they do it in this huge
Did it hold
theater.
up in a big theater?
It did, but the only it's a tour de force for him. But the only problem with it is that it can't compete with what's going on in the world today, the nonsense and the craziness. He says, my character is not Trump, but the character is pretty, you know.
You're right, it's hard to compete about it.
Then I finally, this play's been playing for a long time and you can still see it. I think it'll come here. It's called Consent by Nina Raine. It's playing at the Harold Pinter Theater over there. In the middle there is Stephen Campbell Moore. Remember him from the History Boys? He was the younger teacher. It shows how hard it is to prosecute rape. They're lawyers and they're on different sides of a rape case, and how hard it is to sustain a marriage. Because it's mostly about marital combat. Lots of good performances, very interesting play. And then the last picture is Alleluia! This is the new Alan Bennett play.
I love him.
And it's about nursing homes. And I was called home to take care of a sick friend, and I couldn't go that night. I had to come back to New York. I missed the new Alan. He's an out-gay treasure of England.
Did you hear any buzz on it? Is the town talk?
The reviews, I would say, are mixed to good on Alleluia. But I would go see anything he would do. He's so funny.
And then you see everything here, everything clearly in Britain. What's the biggest difference? West End, Broadway?
Well, they do more daring things in the West End. They have their schlock and their regular musicals and all that kind of stuff. But they take more chances. They have a lot of subsidized theater, don't forget.
Well, it's cheaper too, and I think it's much cheaper to put on a show in Britain than it is here.
I mean, here the top ticket is about the regular top ticket is about $165. You can get discounts, folks, but there, it's under $100.
Right, and it's almost impossible.
And you can get tickets for $30.
And I think too, for producers, it's almost impossible to put anything on here for less than millions and millions of dollars. In Britain, they can still thankfully put it on a little less.
Yeah,
go to London, see some theatre.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I love coming
lovely
here.
To see you.
It flew by, and we shall see you soon.
We had so much news. We'll see Anne next week. Thank you for being here, Rob.
I love it. It's always fun to sit here and gossip away.
Even though the news can be somewhat depressing, huh?
I thought it was a nice balance of naughty but nice. And
speaking of which, naughtygossip.com,
it's awful.
Rob Shooter.
It's all Kardashians. You'll hate it, but check it out.
Oh, really? No, it's not.
It's a lot of Kardashian stuff.
All right,
but
to be continued. Go on overtime, and you can hear our rest of our conversation.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.